Will you be hunting in the Depression? Some preppers have talked about this, and they actually sit back and do everything they can to put it down, that you shouldn't hunt. And there's no way there's enough food, so you might as well give up. I find this interesting with these type of preppers. These are the preppers that have basically have limitations in their life and they don't want to admit it. Basically, they're disabled, they're in a wheelchair, they don't know how to hunt, or they just don't want to hunt. They can't kill the animal. And they will make all these other excuses on why you shouldn't. Instead of just saying, I'm too out of shape, or I don't want to kill an animal, or instead of just being upright and honest with you. So you'll hear stuff like, back in the Depression, they almost hunted out all the animals, so then when hunting, then they brought in these rules for hunting. That's true, but it's not 100% foolproof statement true. You have to understand, when shit hits the fan, if we had 300 million people in the US of A, will 100 million people die because they don't even know how to light a fire? They don't even have any skills on how to purify water. They don't have skills on how to make a shelter. So, how many people will die? 100 million? 200 million? I don't know. But a lot will. There's also something they haven't considered. Back then, when the Depression happened, there was the basic animals, elk, deer, rabbits, stuff like this. Now, we have an invasive species that has taken over in Texas and Tennessee that wasn't around back then, and it's referred to as the boar, the wild boar, pigs, hogs, whatever you want to call them. When you apply for your small game hunting license, they have a list of animals and dates and what's legal to kill and what's not. Well, coyotes, you can kill them anytime, day or night. Hogs, the pigs, anytime too. Use any type of weapon you want, doesn't matter. These animals are, there's nothing there to kill them. They are at the top of the food chain. The only thing that's there to kill a boar is a human being. They don't have anything else to take them out. They're very dangerous to hunt with a compound bow. They will attack you. They will rush you. You can get hurt sometimes hunting a boar. And thus, that's where skills come in. You see, next month, deer season opens. And I never hear too many preppers talking about hunting, and I don't know why. It's like they're too busy buying food. They're too busy buying silver or gold. It seems like they have everything backwards. Venison, which is what deer meat is called, is a super meat. High in protein. Really good. Extra healthy for you, by the way. Much better for you than beef that you buy in a grocery store. Now, you can get your hunting license. I mean, I paid, I think it was $50 for my small games and fishing license, and another $20 or $25 for my deer license, which was $70 in total. And that allows me to kill a few deer. Now, I hunt with a compound bow. But, and then I'll hear some people say, oh, I don't have money to buy the bow. You can get bows used for $200-300. You can get a bear bow completely outfitted for $300-400. Or you can get a high-end bow like I have myself, like a Matthews, that cost me well over $1,200, with probably another $700 in accessories. You're probably into almost a $2,000 bow. But you don't need that. Like I said, you could get a bear bow for $200 or $300. Now, first you got to practice with your bow, and you got to get used to it. Then you got to learn about deer and their habits. Where do they go? Where do they sleep? What do they eat? And then you got the skill of knowing where they're going to appear. And that is a skill. Deer will appear at a certain time in the morning in certain places, and at night they will not come back there. They'll come out someplace else. So understanding deer is very important. Then you must understand and have the skill of skinning them, because if you skin them wrong, you'll taint the meat and destroy it. Lots of videos on YouTube will show you how to do that. But most preppers haven't gone out of their way to learn how to skin an animal. For example, this Saturday here in Tennessee, we're having a free hunt day where you can take anybody and they can shoot up to 10 squirrels that day and get to see what it feels like to squirrel hunt. Now, squirrel hunting, that's great for practice. It's also great to have a little bit of squirrel meat, and it gets you used to the environment. And that's here in Tennessee that's going on. It's not like that in every state. So during the Depression, history has told us that those people hunted to feed their families, and they almost hunted everything out because of how hard it was. But when preppers make outright landish remarks saying, oh, well, there's no sense in thinking you're going to go back in the bush and live and hunt off everything, I don't think anybody's really thinking that. Any little thing that you can put in your toolbox, very much like they talk about the vaccine, um, benefits you. I mean, the more food you put away, the better. The more you hunt, and let's say you kill 2 or 3 deer and put them away in the freezer, the better. Learning how to smoke meat in case the freezer has no electricity, the better. That's also important. Learning the basic ways of life, having a lot of salt is important. And learning the skills you need to keep yourself alive. Now, shelter is a big thing. You're going to need that in the winter and the hot summer and stuff like that. But shelter is going to be everywhere. You don't need some fancy tent unless you plan to walk. But there will be abandoned buildings everywhere when shit hits the fan. It was like that when the Great Depression happened. You will have places that you can gain shelter. Just watching drug addicts in the bigger cities, they find abandoned houses every day and they turn them into shelter very quick. Even though they're not that bright and they're addicted to a drug, for some reason, basic human instinct tells them, go get shelter. And they do. But a lot of people say you need certain tools, like a hammer, like a saw, a shovel, when shit hits the fan, or you're not going to be doing very well. I would think one of your basic tools would be a compound bow or a recurve bow. A recurve is shooting more traditional, right? But it might be an option. I have 3 different bows. I have 2 recurve bows. I have my Matthews compound bow. I also have a crossbow. The nice thing about a bow, it allows you to shoot quietly and not give away your position. Now, you have to consider, a lot of people probably would be hunting during a depression. You don't want to be, standing someplace, you take a shot at a deer with a 303 or a 30-30 or whatever you use, or a shotgun with a slug. I mean, just the noise itself will carry for 2 miles. It's going to tell 50 people where you are. Where you shoot that animal with a compound bow, all you hear is a thud. And if you have the skill and you practice with it, it'll drop in 20 yards. Nobody will even know you shot that animal. And now you'll be able to field dress that animal and pack that animal out if you have the right equipment to do that. And this is important. Every single prepper out there, like I've said in the past, should carry a pack, although some disagree, should have their hunting license and should be hunting and learning what squirrels do, what rabbits do, what deer do. Not unless you want to eat bugs, if that's your thing. That's not mine. So, because you have to understand, if you shoot a deer, then that's going to tie you over for a good month or so in meat, depending on how big your family is. And that's going to give you some great protein to keep you going. And when you kill something that large, that's very important to keep you going. And a big thing with hunting, when you hunt with a compound bow, is you hunt from a tree stand, which really exerts no energy whatsoever while you're waiting. And that's important. And they have some really great technology now on how to do that. I might make a video on that and showing you guys that. But if you are not getting your hunting license, or you're not trying to learn that, then you're a fool. Like I said, you can get a compound bow for $300-400 if you look around. You can get them used. If you do buy one used, then make sure you go to an archery store and get them to set you up. I don't know what they charge for that, $100, whatever. It's worth the money. Pay it, and let them get you set up, and that way you're shooting properly. You'll need a target, usually about $50 off Amazon, and then you can sit back in your yard and practice and get the hang of it and the feel of that bow and what it's doing. Next month, hunting season opens. Go buy your hunting license and go get your deer license. Now, because I'm old, I wasn't required to take a hunting course. I guess if you were born after 1969, I believe it is. I was born before that. You have to take a hunting course, which you do online, which is like $35, which you can spend a week doing it. You can look up stuff. Personally, it looks more like a money grab and to give you some general information on hunting so you don't hurt yourself. But you will need to take that test online, and like I said, it's about $35. I think in Tennessee. Other states, I don't know. You'd have to check. But as long as you got that, now you can get your hunting license. Now you can get your fishing license. Now you can get your deer license and whatever else is around you. Now, if you don't own land to hunt on, a lot of people talk about public land. These are like federal parks and stuff like that. And sometimes, like, land between the lakes isn't very far from me, a couple hours. I would have to pay an additional $25 if I want to hunt deer on that land. So there is some options. And you can always pick up the phone and call a game warden to give you the information. But if you don't know how to hunt, lots of videos on YouTube about it. If you don't know how to shoot a bow, go to an archery store. Lots of videos on YouTube about that. And start teaching yourself right now how to shoot a bow. Spend 1 hour, 2 hours every couple of days shooting it. And get yourself used to that bow. Watch videos on how to hunt deer, what deer habits are. Get out of the live feeds and everybody yapping about how the end's coming. That's not benefiting you. Understanding a skill and learning for a way to feed yourself is just one more tool you're going to add to your toolbox. And if you pass that up and you say, oh, I could never shoot an animal, then I hate to tell you this, that you're going to wish you did when shit hits the fan. Because there's nothing wrong, there's nothing worse than being hungry. You're going to wish you knew that skill. It would be better to be sitting in a tree stand hungry and all of a sudden a deer appears, or a squirrel walks up in front of you, or a rabbit, or a coyote, I don't care, whatever it does. And you happen to bag yourself some meat. That's what matters. And the people in Texas, oh, they're going to eat good. They got wild boar everywhere. So do not believe somebody when they say you're not going to be able to hunt during the Depression. You are going to be able to hunt during Depression, maybe, I don't know, maybe for the first 2, 3, 4 years, who knows. There will be a time where game gets less and less and less, but at the same time, the population's getting smaller. So when they say there's 300 million people, there isn't enough meat to support that many. That is true, but it's a half-truth. Because if shit hits the fan, 100 million or more are going to die. So you're going to have less and less of a population, which in turn makes the meat last longer. And like I said, wild boar will be breeding like crazy. So it might surprise you what's going to happen. And when that goes down, people will be barter trading immediately for chickens, rabbits, all kinds of things they will start breeding. They'll put in gardens 5 times bigger. They will do everything in their power in their community, I would think, to work together. A lot of things will change. The more you can put on your table, the better position you're going to be in. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you go buy yourself a compound bow and you go teach yourself on what hunting is. So don't be caught with your pants down, or else you're going to be sitting at the table eating bugs and worms. And as far as I'm concerned, no thank you. I'll be eating venison. Catch you guys on the next one.